Hello everybody and welcome to another video about Logic Forge. So last time, if you'll remember, we made it so you can click on this cube and either make it lighten up or go dark based on the light. And so one other thing I wanted to mention about that is that you can actually click on the logic here while you have the game running and you can see what the values are real time. So this can be useful if you're trying to debug your code and see what's going wrong. The only thing you need to do to make sure that's working is click on the logic and then make sure the auto live link is enabled by just clicking on it. All right, awesome. So let's move on to today's topic. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is put everything back together the way it was before and switch over to the scene. All right, I'm going to get rid of this cube and switch it to a capsule. This really doesn't matter which one you're using, but this is just going to be considered the input capsule. It'll still work if you use the cube. It really doesn't matter, but that's just what we're going to use. And so we're going to get started by making another logic component. So a different way to do it than adding it right here is just going over here and clicking on Add Component. And then you can just search logic. All right, awesome. So this has created a new empty piece of logic, but there's nothing really set in here. As you can see, it says not set. So what we can do is go over to the logic again here and then just click new. And then we can click save. So you can see that this just created a new empty piece of logic when you go and click on it. And again, we'll want to rename this piece of logic to something better, such as input handler. So based on that, you can probably get an idea of what sort of logic we're going to be adding now. So we can get started with that. All right, so our next step is going to be working with console log. So what is console log? Well, it's a way to output information that's useful to a video game developer, which will appear right here, and it's in Unity. So that means someone who's playing this game won't be able to see these messages, but you can see them and you can set up your own messages. So let's get started. Make sure that you selected the input handler and then click on add and then log. So this creates a log node and you can see a new message was created right here as well. But I'm just going to click and clear that. Right now we don't really have a message, but that doesn't matter. What we can do is press play on the game and test it out. So make sure you click back on input handler again, get everything set up, and you can see that we have B enable and B clock. So I'm going to enable the B clock because what this does is make it so this only outputs one time. And then right when I click B enable and enable this node, you can see we get our message out. And the message just says null, which just means it's empty right now. There's no message in there. And I'm going to disable this again. And then this time I'm going to turn B clock off. So you can see we now have a loop right here. And this loop means that it will just keep on running and running every single time Unity updates the game, which is many, many times a second. So let's click B enable. And you can see that null just keeps on getting outputted. Even if I clear it, you can just see a ton of null messages coming out, over 999 plus of them, in fact. So yeah, that's how we create a simple log message. Now let's actually create a useful message. The first step to doing that would be to click, right click, and select add, and then insert a variable. And what we want is a local variable. And you can see here that we have two new nodes coming up. The one at the top is the new model component, which is going to hold all of the variables that we create, and then this bottom one is just empty. So our first step is to actually name our variable. And so let's just name it something like var. Then when you press enter, we have to set a variable type. And you can see we have all these different choices to choose from. Some of them are advanced and specific to Unity, but what we want is a simple one, and that's just called string. A string is sort of like a way to just write a sentence or just write any sort of text that you want to in Unity. So we can just write hello input for now. Just a simple message. And what we want to do is take this var or variable and then attach it to the log because we want to set our message. All right, so we just did that. And again, we're getting a bunch of different messages saying different things. But what we can do is clear that, and then we can enable both of these. So if you remember, this loop means that the message will keep on coming out over and over again, which we can test out right now. Okay, when I click play, you can see that we keep on getting hello input coming out over and over again. So let's change this to new message. You can see that even while I'm running this, we keep on getting this new message coming out. And that's because you can make changes to your script even when you're running it in real time. Now let's actually attach our console.log to actual input. So again, we'll just go to add and then input. And then we're going to add an input action, and this time we'll do fire1. So this is left click on the mouse. And we will just set the action type to down and then press OK. Now I need to organize this a little bit better, so I will move this over to the side and then the input right here. Then I can just take this and attach it to log, and it'll give me two choices. It can either be to the B clock or to the B enable. And I actually want to do this with B clock. So what this means is that in order for this log to run, the input of fire1 needs to be pressed down. So by default, the clock will just be associated with the Unity's runtime, but by setting the input to fire1, the clock is now associated with clicking. And then I want to enable this, and so we can try testing this out. I'll press play, and let's go into our game, and I'll clear this, and when I click, you can see that we get that hello input message. Now what I want to do is move this over to the side so we can actually see exactly what's going on when we click. Okay, I need to click over on input capsule again, and then when I click, if I click fast enough, you can see that this console log actually lights up green and the input changes to true. But it's really hard to see because this happens so quickly over the course of one frame. But it is happening. And for other types of input, it'll be easier to see. Congratulations, you have now learned one of the most important tools for any game developer. Thank you for watching.